Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday English Flow. How are you today? I hope you are doing great. I am Maya, and I am here with my co-host, Ryan. Welcome back to the channel, Ryan.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here today. And hello to all our amazing viewers. Thank you so much for watching Everyday English Flow. It is always great to be here, Maya.
Today, we're continuing our series, Common Communication Problems in English, with Episode 3, and this one is about a really strange but very common experience.
That's right. Have you ever thought a sentence in your head, felt completely sure it was correct, and then said it out loud, only to realize something sounded off, or someone corrected you?
Oh, I know that feeling so well. It's confusing, because in your mind, the sentence felt perfectly fine, but out loud, it just didn't land the same way.
By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why this happens, and we'll share some practical ways to close that gap between your mental English and your spoken English.
And just like our last two episodes, this one connects closely to the whole journey we've been exploring, understanding versus speaking, freezing under pressure, and now, that strange gap between what feels correct and what really is correct. Let's get started.
Maya, can you think of a time this happened to you? A sentence that felt correct in your head but came out wrong?
Actually, yes. I once said something like, I agree with you out loud, and it felt completely natural in the moment, but afterward I realized it should have been, I agree with you. No am needed.
That's such a good example. In your head, it probably felt fine because in many languages that structure with am or a similar word actually is correct.
Exactly, and honestly, it took me a moment to even understand why it was wrong, since the sentence felt so smooth and natural coming out. Exactly. And that's the strange part. The sentence didn't feel wrong at all internally, it only became visible as a mistake once it left my mouth and someone reacted differently than I expected.
I've had something similar happen with word order. In my head, a sentence felt perfectly logical, but out loud, the order just didn't match how English speakers actually say it.
Word order is such a sneaky one, too, because the individual words are all correct. It's just their arrangement that quietly gives away the mismatch. That's so relatable. It's almost like our brain builds a sentence using patterns from our first language, but English has its own separate patterns, and the two don't always line up.
So it's not that we're careless or not paying attention, it's that our internal sense of correct is often shaped by a different language system entirely.
Exactly. And once you realize that, it becomes a lot less frustrating. This isn't a sign of failure, it's simply a mismatch between two different sets of rules.
It also explains why two learners from different language backgrounds often make completely different mistakes in English. Each person's brain is borrowing from a different original template.
That's such a good point. It really shows that these mistakes aren't random or careless, they follow a very logical pattern, just one based on a different language's rules.
Let's explore exactly why this mismatch happens, and how we can gradually retrain that internal sense of correct.
I'm looking forward to this one, honestly, because understanding the why behind my own mistakes has always made them so much easier to actually fix. Let's start with the core reasons behind this gap between what feels correct and what actually is correct. Reason 1. Your brain uses your first language as a template. When you build a sentence, your brain often borrows the grammar patterns, word order, or structure from your first language, then fills in English words on top of that structure.
That's why a sentence can feel completely natural. It's following a pattern your brain already trusts, just with English vocabulary layered over it.
And because that internal pattern feels so familiar, your brain doesn't send any warning signal that something might be wrong. It simply feels right.
That's such a clear way to describe it. There's no little alarm bell in your head. The sentence just glides out smoothly, exactly the way any correct sentence would. Reason 2, you haven't heard the correct pattern enough times yet. Your ear needs repeated exposure to a correct structure before it starts to feel normal. Until then, an incorrect version can sound just as natural or even more natural. This is why listening really does matter. Even though episode 1 was all about the gap between listening and speaking, listening is still what slowly trains your sense of what sounds right.
So it's not that listening alone is enough, but without it, your sense of correct simply doesn't have anything real to compare against. Exactly. Listening builds your internal radar for what's correct, while speaking practice is what actually lets you test and calibrate that radar in real time.
It's a nice reminder that listening and speaking aren't competing activities, they actually support each other. One builds the sense of correctness, and the other tests it out loud. Reason 3. Speaking happens fast, without time to double check. In real conversations, you don't usually have time to mentally review grammar rules, so your brain relies on instinct, and if that instinct hasn't been corrected yet, it repeats the same mistake. That's exactly why we can spot a mistake instantly when it's written down, but miss it completely in the middle of a live conversation.
Writing gives your brain time to slow down and check itself, but speaking simply doesn't offer that same luxury, especially in a fast-moving conversation. Now let's move into the fixes, because this gap really can be closed with the right kind of practice. Fix 1. Notice corrections instead of brushing past them. When someone corrects you, or you notice a different pattern in something you're reading or watching, pause for a moment and really absorb the correct version.
It's tempting to feel embarrassed and move on quickly, but that small pause is exactly what helps rewire your internal sense of correctness. Fix 2. Read your own writing out loud. Since writing gives you more time to think than speaking does, reading your own sentences aloud helps you notice patterns that might sound different from natural English.
This is such an underrated technique. Your ear often catches things your eye misses completely.
It also builds a habit of self-checking, which slowly transfers into live conversations too, even without consciously trying to check yourself. Fix 3. Repeat correct sentences multiple times out loud. When you learn a correct structure, don't just read it once. Say it out loud several times, in different example sentences so your mouth and ear both get used to it. Repetition really is key here. One correction rarely changes an instinct permanently, but repeated active practice slowly does.
I think of it like wearing a path through grass. One walk doesn't leave a trail, but walking the same way many times slowly carves a clear, natural path. Fix 4. Keep a small surprise list of corrections. Whenever something you thought was correct turns out to be wrong, write it down in one place and review that list every week. I love this idea over time that list becomes a personalized map of exactly where your internal English differs from real English.
And unlike a general grammar book, this list is built entirely from your own real mistakes, which makes it far more relevant and memorable than any generic textbook example. Fix 5. Slow down slightly in conversations where accuracy matters. In low-stakes chats, speed is fine, but in situations like interviews or important messages, a slightly slower pace gives your brain a moment to catch instinctive mistakes before they come out. That small pause can be the difference between repeating an old mistake and catching yourself just in time to say it correctly.
And with practice, that little pause gets shorter and shorter until eventually the correct version simply comes out first, without needing to slow down at all. Let's also talk about why this feeling can be a little discouraging at first and how to reframe it in a healthier way.
Please go ahead.
It's easy to feel like, if it felt right in my head but was wrong out loud, maybe my instincts are unreliable. But really, it just means your instincts are still calibrating, and calibration takes time and exposure.
That's such an important reframe. This gap isn't a flaw, it's simply evidence that you're mid-journey, actively adjusting from one language system to another.
And honestly, every fluent speaker went through this exact same phase at some point. That mid-journey feeling is universal, not a sign that you're somehow behind. And every single correction, even the embarrassing ones, is actually valuable data. It tells your brain exactly which pattern to adjust next.
It's a bit like a GPS recalculating a route. One wrong turn isn't a disaster. It's simply new information that helps you find the correct path a little faster next time. So instead of feeling discouraged by a mistake like this, it genuinely helps to feel a little curious about it instead. Oh, interesting. So that's how it actually works.
That small shift, from embarrassment to curiosity, honestly changes the entire experience of learning a language. Mistakes start to feel like little discoveries instead of failures. That mindset shift alone makes this whole process feel so much lighter and less stressful.
And honestly, the learners who stay curious instead of discouraged tend to improve the fastest, simply because they keep engaging with their mistakes instead of avoiding them.
Now it's your turn. In the comments, tell us about a sentence that felt correct in your head but turned out to be wrong when you said it or wrote it.
And try this small challenge. Start your own surprise list today. Write down just one correction you've received recently and read it out loud 3 times.
If nothing comes to mind right away, don't worry. Just keep the idea in the back of your mind and add to the list the next time something surprises you. Even one small entry is a great start, and you can keep adding to it every time something surprises you.
If you try reading your own writing out loud this week, let us know what you noticed. Sometimes it's genuinely surprising what your ear catches that your eye missed.
And if you have your own method for catching these hidden mistakes, share it below. It might help someone else close their own gap a little faster.
And if today's episode reminded you of a specific mistake you keep repeating, that's actually perfect. It means you already know exactly where to focus your practice this week.
Great work today! We covered why sentences can feel correct in your head but sound wrong out loud, and 5 practical ways to slowly close that gap.
Remember, this isn't a sign that something is wrong with your thinking. It's simply your brain still calibrating from one language system to another.
Be patient with yourself. Keep noticing corrections instead of rushing past them, and trust that your internal sense of correct will keep getting sharper over time.
And connecting this back to our earlier episodes too, closing the input-output gap, handling freezing moments, and now recalibrating your internal sense of correctness, they all work together toward the same goal, speaking with real natural confidence. Next episode, we're continuing this series with why you translate in your mind before speaking and how to stop, another topic that connects closely to what we discussed today.
Thank you so much for watching and practicing with us today.
Bye, everyone, and keep practicing.
One small homework task before you go. Write down one sentence that once surprised you by being wrong and read it out loud 3 times right now.
That small habit done every day is how your internal English slowly starts matching real, natural English. We'll see you in the next episode.
And remember, every learner who now speaks fluently once stood exactly where you are, noticing a strange gap between what felt right and what actually was right, so you're in very good company.
And we'll keep walking through this journey together, one episode at a time, until all of this starts to feel simply like second nature.
Take care, everyone, and see you next time.